Hey, everybody, welcome to another edition here on claibsonline.com. And we're going to talk about something that's pretty interesting. And everybody's going to be involved in it at some point here down the road. And we're talking about electric vehicles and the impact that they're having not only on this country, but certainly around the world. And we thought we'd visit with the president of Ameren Illinois. He is Richard Mark. And Richard, this is growing at a pretty good pace. And certainly when it comes to places like Southern Illinois, the one thing that we don't have enough of are charging stations. And as much as popular as these vehicles have become, one of the things that we're learning that charging stations are going to be essential with its growth. Talk a little bit about what Ameren's doing these days, because first of all, why electric vehicles and why are they becoming so much more popular, but also the charging stations and how important they're going to be as far as setting up a proper network.
Yeah, well, good, Michael. And, from an environmental standpoint and clean energy, electric vehicles are great because they do not emit any carbon at all, compared to a fossil fuel engine. And so, that's one of the big selling points. Obviously, they're more efficient and cost effective to drive and own also. So there's a lot of reasons that people are moving to electric vehicles, but I see government, is really pushing the electric vehicles just because of the climate issue and the trying to get to net zero carbon emissions by, some states 2030, other states by 2050.
Now, for you, we're seeing the growth. Why aren't we seeing more people buying cars? I know they're growing at a pretty good pace, but why don't you think they're growing more?
Well, I think because they're different, the technology is so different. And, people hear about range anxiety, like you mentioned earlier, how far can I go and the battery life? And then when the battery's low, where am I going to get it charged? And in a state like Illinois and Missouri, where you have, maybe a suburban or urban hub and then a lot of rural territory, people are concerned. You got to drive 150, 200 miles. They're like, where am I going to find a charging station? And so that in the industry, they call that range anxiety. So if you don't know where you can get charged, I think that's one thing. And the other thing I think is how long it takes to charge a vehicle up. Some of the older technologies, depending on if you had 120 volts or, it could take anywhere from 5 to 12 hours to get a half of charge. Where if you have a 220, you could basically reduce that to half. But there's other technologies out there, and but those are the things that people want. You can fill your car up at a gas station in 5 minutes, but it might take an hour or so to fill up to get enough to go another 150 miles in an electric vehicle. So those are all things that challenge people right now when it comes to purchasing an electric vehicle. Plus, the cost is usually $5,000 to $10,000 more based on the model.
One of the things, though, in Southern Illinois, charging stations, and I know Ameren has really gotten behind the movement to create more charging stations as the electric car demand continues to grow.
Sure. Ameren, Illinois, we cover 44,000 square miles in the state of Illinois. So we go from Galesburg up north all the way down to the very tip of the state as it goes into Kentucky, and from the Iowa border all the way across to the Indiana border. And so in that 44,000 square miles, there's only 60 charging stations, public charging stations. And so in order to, and our belief is for electric vehicles to really get started, we have to provide more charging stations. And so we actually are working with the state of Illinois, the Illinois Commerce Commission, and the Illinois General Assembly to look at redoing rate structures on how to provide a better cost for people to charge their vehicles, and also looking at legislation that would allow utility companies to work with communities, work with the state highway department and others to install and develop and build charging stations across the Illinois service territory.
So how do we get there?
Well, it's kind of like the chicken or the egg. What do you do first? And we really believe that is the charging stations is the way to do it. Supplement that with some incentives and education to the general public about the the what is the chart? What is the vehicle like? A lot of people, they say they don't like them, but as soon as they get in one and they drive it for a little bit, it's like, oh man, I really like this. They're quiet, they're easy to drive. And so, I think education is going to be a key point. And then we're also, Ameren Illinois and Ameren Missouri, we're partnering with 7 other utilities across the Midwest to really work in a comprehensive, strategic way of saying, where should these charging stations be located if you're traveling through the Midwest? So we're working with utilities in Detroit, Illinois, Missouri, Indiana, Kansas, Oklahoma, all the way out to Colorado. So strategically building these stations is a way that the utilities can really step in and help jumpstart the electric vehicle market.
And I would also think, as far as the charging stations are concerned, they're universal. So one that works in Illinois is going to be the same one that can work in Michigan or Colorado or Missouri or anywhere else. That seems like, for me, as I'm getting more into the electric vehicle aspect, that everything seems like they connect, all the dots connect, where it's not like some other fields where you don't have this, then you can't do that. Am I getting warm here with regard to making sure that everything is all on the same page at this beginning stage?
Yeah, well, not quite totally on the same page. For example, Teslas can only, a Tesla uses a Tesla charger.
Mm-hmm.
And so the owners actually get a special connection. And so you might see sometimes at a department store or a commercial retailer, they have a Tesla charging. Well, only Teslas can charge at that charging station. And so if you own a Chevy or a Nissan Leaf or another type of electric vehicle, you can't use that charging station. Now, Teslas also will, you can buy an adapter to use on your Tesla charging station at another type of charging station. But the other model cars like Nissan, Chevy, and the other electric vehicles, you cannot charge those at a Tesla station. And then also there's a little, one of the nuances is that, depending on the type of car you have, at some charging stations, they may charge faster than at another brand of charging station. And so some of that is still being worked on. And as I said, as that technology moves, I think you'll see more standardization across the market in those types of things.
At Ameren Illinois, we're not only focused on delivering reliable energy to your home every day, we also have an eye to the future. From powering one of the most advanced energy grids in the nation to using innovative technology like smart meters to help you save energy and money. We're planning for the future so you can be ready for what's next at home. Now that's energy at work. Learn more at amerenillinois.com/reliability.
One of the things, as we look at the role of a utility company, you guys are putting your money where your mouth is with regard to being a leader in this aspect and trying to become more electric yourself with your equipment and how you get around town.
Sure, right. We started about 5 years or 6 years ago, probably, buying some electric hybrid type of vehicles, the big trucks that we operate, the big boom trucks. And then now we've moved into, with the development of some smaller delivery size electric vehicles. We've bought some of those. Actually, there's a new electric vehicle manufacturing, Rivian, up in Bloomington, Champaign area, in Illinois, in the Bloomington area. And we've purchased 15 of those vehicles for Illinois, 15 of those vehicles for Missouri. Those are fully 100% electric trucks. And so we're working to increase and basically try to get all of our fleet as low carbon emission vehicles going forward. We've actually have added some compressed natural gas into some of our vehicles also, which is a cleaner burning fuel than gasoline and diesel. So yeah, we're trying to make our fleet much more energy efficient and much more less carbon emissions.
What about the small towns where you get people who feel like this is a way to go? Is Ameren ready to service those communities? Because as you mentioned, with 43,000 square miles, everything's not going to be a metropolitan area. So what about those smaller communities?
Well, I think that's where the utilities really play the major role. Private developers are not going to come to Illinois and go into a small town and put in EV charging. They're not going to promote it there. Those towns are going to be left out. And we think that's the role of the utility, is to step into those communities, work with the local government. They may not have the resources, the engineers to really think through those processes. And they may not have the funds to put charging at their city hall or at their police department. The utilities can help with that. And that's what we're working with the Illinois General Assembly about right now, trying to get legislation passed that would allow the utilities to do more of working with those small communities and, low to moderate income communities. They're going to be left out unless someone steps in and helps them. And we see that as a major role that utilities, not only in Illinois and Missouri, but across the country, can play and should play.
I'm going to go back to something you said earlier about educating people and just getting information in their hands, because there are a lot of rumors, maybe a lot of misnomers with regard to what electric cars can do. And I know we touched on a little bit the distance that they can go. How important is it for people to really pay attention to what's going on here and not be afraid of this next generation of transportation?
Yeah, you're right. That's, education is key to that. And, as all of us know, we hate change. And so something changes and we want to push back. But so what we're trying to do with an education program, and we've worked with some of the electric vehicle manufacturers. And so like if we have an event where it's a community event and people are there, we've actually taken some electric vehicles with us and allow people to take them on test drives. So we've been working with the developers, and they've brought electric vehicles into different types of outdoor events. You can't do that much now with COVID-19 and the social distancing. But in the past, we had been starting to do some of those. And so I hope that when, the pandemic kind of moves away and we're able to actually get out and have those interactions, we'll be able to work with some of the manufacturers to take those vehicles there and allow you to come in and test drive one and see, just experience it. And so that, plus we're working with some groups to put together some video and presentations on electric vehicles, as well as a lot we're doing on social media and print media to get that in the hands of people so that they know where they can go and research and find out more about an electric vehicle that meets their needs.
I would imagine as you try and educate the general public, the people who are going to take a vote on approving these funds and being more involved from a political standpoint, it's good for them to have a good idea on where this takes everybody also.
Yeah, you're exactly right, because communities are so different, and you mentioned smaller communities a few minutes ago, but when we started working with the legislators, I was talking to a senator from up around the Chicago area, and he says, what do you need to help with charging stations for? He says, you can just go to Walgreens or CVS and charge. And I go, I live a mile from a Walgreens and a CVS in Collinsville. There's no charging station.
Not going to happen. Yeah, exactly.
And he was shocked, Mike. He was like shocked. He was like, you're kidding me. I go, no. And so making legislators aware, you're exactly right. That's important.
Hey, Matt Minster here with my trusty assistant. Sorry.
I'm Suzanne, the Magnificent, and this is my trusty assistant, Matt.
That's right. And we're here with easy tips that can save you energy and money.
Like magic.
Adjusting your thermostat 7 to 10 degrees for 8 hours a day can save you up to 10% a year. And a smart thermostat can change the temperature automatically.
Abra Adjusto.
Impressive.
There's more where that came from.
LED light bulbs use up to 80% less energy and can last 25 times longer than regular light bulbs.
Ooh. Ah.
And using timed outlets can help you save even more energy.
Tickety, tockety, two.
Or try a smart plug. Now these cool devices sync with your smartphone so that you can manage your energy
Ta-da!
with the touch of a finger. Hey, you're pretty good at that.
Thanks. Want to see another trick?
Of course.
Energy savings made easy.
Find more tips at amerenillinois.com/savings made easy.
All right, before we wrap things up, I know there's a lot of other things Ameren Illinois is involved in. Give us an idea of some things we need to start looking forward to taking in.
Well, one of the things we always are promoting and we want people to really get involved in is conservative use of your energy needs, whether it's natural gas or whether it's electric, and the more that people can help reduce their energy usage and use their energy in a wise manner, it helps us all. It helps from a climate standpoint, and it actually helps from a cost standpoint, and so what we try to get people aware of, how can you save energy in your home? What are some of the simple things that you can do? As maybe your parents and my parents told us as kids, turn the lights off when you leave the room. It's still, that information is still good today. And so trying to get people aware that, for the benefit of our planet, from an energy standpoint, the less energy we produce, that we have to produce, the less, carbon emissions we're going to have. The better we can generate that energy and use it without emitting carbon, it's better for all of us. And then if we reduce our cost in our home, in each and every, of our customers' homes, it's going to be lower bills for them that they can have, funds and resources to do other things. So energy efficiency is one of the things we're really pushing, and looking at new ways that people can do that through our automated meter system. All of our meters in Illinois now are completely digital. And so we can give a person information every 15 minutes on their energy usage. They can go online and monitor their energy, see how much they're using. They can set up a text alert. They want to know how much they use all per week. We could send them a message to say, hey, you're at 80% of your weekly usage, or you're at 50%, or you're at 100%. And so that information that we can do to help all of our customers manage their energy usage is probably the thing that we're really focusing on as we move forward. And that's in addition to just making sure the grid is there and it's robust and resilient enough to meet the needs, so that when you have your Zoom calls and meetings and your kids are getting their classwork on Zoom meetings nowadays, that the energy is there and electric is there when you need it. When you flip the switch, the lights come on.
I want to go back to something you touched on as far as being at home. And because of the pandemic, we've seen a lot more people move to the home, whether they're working or whether the case of being around their families more. How much of a shift have you seen with Ameren Illinois as far as energy usage? The buildings aren't being occupied as much, so we see a lot more things coming out of the home. How much of a shift have you seen in that, and how much of an impact has it had on Ameren?
So, what we've seen is really a great point, because you see a shift from the commercial retail business. It goes down, it has gone down because many of the buildings aren't using as much energy. But what we've seen is that the home, as far as the residential customer, energy usage has gone up about 4 to 5%. And that's why we feel that energy efficiency is so important. But so, and for as how we manage the grid, we're able to balance that out by, using, technology and digital technology on our distribution system. We can balance that out very well, so it doesn't affect us, but it does shift a lot of that burden and some cost to homeowners now that they haven't had in 2 years ago. Because they're home more, they're using more energy. And for us, it heightens our responsibility to make sure we can deliver as reliable of power as we can, as possible, because people need it now. You're there all day. If you're working and the kids are at school, if there's a problem with a line down or a car hits a pole at midday, okay, that's fine. You got a couple hours, you get it fixed. Now, kids are home doing their homework. If that car hits that pole and that line's down, we try to get people out there immediately instead of, looking at new technology and ways we can do it. We want to make that repair in 45 minutes or an hour versus 2 hours or 3 hours. And so it's really heightened our need and our response times and the awareness of just responding quickly and just because people are home now, they're home 24 hours a day almost. We've got to be there during the day and make sure they have that reliable power they need.
In wrapping up, and I keep saying this, but I have so many things that come out. With this digital age that we're in, and so many things are automated, there's still nothing like people power. And it sounds like you guys have just kind of redistributed your resources, people-wise, compared to maybe 10 years, 15 years ago. But they're better equipped, I would assume, also, and being more efficient. So we're not trying to eliminate a job or anything, but it just sounds like people power is always going to be there.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, we have technology, we have capacitor banks and resistors and automation, and we even have drones now. We have our own little fleet of drones, and all of those things. What they do is they tell us the problem. And they can identify where it is quicker. But when it comes down to it, it's got to be that human touch that's out there that's making that repair. And so that's how we've kind of merged that technology with the actual human touch and the workers out there in the field. Instead of the worker maybe having to drive 2 or 3 blocks looking up and trying to see where the tree hit the line, now technology tells him the exact GPS location that it is. In some of the rural areas, instead of them driving for miles to see where the pole was broken in a storm or a high wind, we can park our vehicles at one end of that line and fly a drone down to the other end, and they'll tell us exactly where that outage is. A few weeks ago, we had a situation where a huge low area was flooded, and we knew there was an outage, but we couldn't tell exactly where it was. We're able to send a drone out there. Drone identified where the problem is, identified the problem and what we needed to fix it. So what they did is they basically had all the equipment, all the materials, went directly to the location, and with the help of some special vehicles and to get through the mud and the water, but they had everything they needed. And that repair, it probably, took a repair that in, 10 years ago would have probably been 12 hours, 13 hours. We're able to do it in 4.
Wow, man, it's amazing how when you start to learn about the utility industry and its impact, you never think about it until you don't have it. So hopefully we're able to inform people on how things work. Richard, it's always great to visit with you. I'm going to stay in touch with you on this electric vehicle thing, because I think as we start to see things come out of the pandemic, a lot of new products are going to be out there, a lot of things that are going to make things go in the right direction. So thanks to you and Ameren Illinois for keeping us on top of things, but more importantly, being out in front and making sure that you guys are prepared for that next challenge.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Mike. And thanks for having me on your show. Glad to be here. Thank you.
All right. He's Richard Mark. I'm Mike Claiborne. We thank you for watching and listening here on ClaibsOnline.com.